In 2011, I was a sophomore in high school and was hanging out with my friend Hadley. We live in the Rust Belt, and the population of our area has declined a lot in the last 40 to 50 years. So schools were merged as a result of a declining enrollment, which means that there's a lot of abandoned schools. I live in a small town in Pennsylvania-Ohio border, and the abandoned school was a hotspot for teenagers who wanted it to smoke weed and break windows, and just overall cause havoc. My friend and I were in a breezeway type area. You could just step right over a 1.5-foot wall because all of the glass had been broken out. All of a sudden, a guy comes around the corner and grabs my friend, telling her to come with him. We think it's a guy who intends to call the cops, so we booked it the fuck out of there and walked to my cousin's house down the street. It is the day before my aunt's birthday, so all my family is at my cousin's house, and we just hang out for a bit. They all ended up going out to eat, but my cousin Henley and I stayed back home. It's now dark outside, and we were sitting on my cousin's stoop and smoking cigarettes when all of a sudden we see a man walking down my cousin's driveway. He has his coat pulled over to his mouth and his hat pulled down to his eyes, so we can only see his eyes and nose are visible. And he's making a strange gesture at us. At first glance, I thought he was jingling the keys at us, so my dumbass thinks it's our uncle trying to give us the house keys, and I walked up to him, and my cousin says, "Jake, get the fuck away from him." And now, I'm a bit closer, and I can see what he's doing. Masturbating. We turn around, run around the house to the front door, and we thankfully get inside. The guy gets to the front of the door after us and finishes all over the sliding glass door, and then runs back towards her garage into the woods. We are fucking freaking out. We call the cops. They ask us some questions and then left. About a week later, a girl who had graduated from our high school heard about what happened and remembers seeing a car parked on the street behind my cousin's garage and had taken down the license plate number. She reports the number to the police, and it's registered to an Ohio man, so not much is done. And then a few weeks later, this same car chases a woman home from Walmart to Youngstown, Ohio, and attempts to follow her inside and rape her. He is arrested, and it turns out he had a habit of trying to sexually assault people in Walmart parking lots in both Newcastle, Pennsylvania and Youngstown, Ohio. He faced charges in both states, and my cousin, friend, and I were up subpoenaed to testify against him. When we went to court, we saw his mugshot, and the guy who had masturbated and chased us was the fucking guy who grabbed my friend in the abandoned school. He wasn't gonna call the cops. He was trying to rape her. He got a few years in prison, but I believe he got out in 2015 or 2016. About 2 years ago, my friends and I had found out about an abandoned insane asylum located in Downey, California. Being the curious 17-year-olds that we were, we decided that it would be a good idea to explore this abandoned facility, just to see what we could find inside. So on a Saturday night, we gathered a few more of our friends and made the drive out to Downey so we could explore this building for ourselves. After about 30 minutes of driving, we arrived in Downey and made our way through the city to where the abandoned asylum is located. The closer we got, the shadier and shadier the neighborhoods we were passing through became, and after about 15 minutes of driving, we arrived at our destination. We parked the car, climbed through the hole in the fence, and made our way into the building to see what we could find. And to be honest, it started out not being too bad, considering we only had about 10 people. We were thinking, what's the worst that could happen to a group of 10 people? So we meandered through the building, looking at all the broken furniture scattered throughout the rooms, the patient files thrown upon the floor, and we were pretty much having a good time looking at what was once this weird mental institution. But this is where shit gets weird. As we were walking, we of course had a flashlight pointed down the hallway, because the power that was once in this building was and clearly is out. But as we were walking with our flashlight pointed ahead of us, and we come to a corner, we see the adjacent wall of the corner light up from what we assumed was another flashlight, and sure enough, we turn the corner and there's another group of 4 kids, shady fucking weird kids. We confronted each other, and they asked if we've been to the slide. We politely answered no, because we had no idea what they were talking about, and they told us that we should follow them. Of course we declined, because we're getting weird vibes from these people, and as they were talking amongst themselves, one of the kids comes up to me with, I kid you not, a solid 6-inch bowie knife looking thing. Isn't this cool? Look what I found, as he moves the knives closer to my face. I politely answer what a cool find that is, and we start to back away, telling them that we're going to explore the roof of the building. Surprisingly, they said alright, and they turn to the corner and continue their own way. Alright, now that that's out of the way, I'm seriously beginning to feel weird about being in this place and how we're definitely not supposed to be here. So at that point, I say fuck it. We just need to go to the roof, go down the fire escape, and get the hell out of there. So we made our way to the roof, and we're just sitting there plotting our escape. Like I said, people are not supposed to be in this asylum, so they just have a police car stationed at the main gate to make sure no one comes in. So as we were up there, we tried to figure out the best way to get out of here without getting noticed by the police. That's when my friend sees a fire escape ladder coming down off of this higher proportion of the roof. We decide that this is probably our best bet, so we grab a small ladder that we will be able to boost us up into this higher proportion of the roof. My friend Jonah goes up and immediately turns around so he could help other people by pulling them up. As I'm getting myself up there, my heart completely fucking sinks. Jonah, did you not see this when you got up here? I whispered. What the fuck are you talking about, man? He responds. I'm looking forward, and he slowly turns to see what was pretty much our worst fucking nightmare. There's about 15 hooded people sitting in a circle up there surrounding a burning cat or some other dead animal. These motherfuckers are talking in tongues and just making noises which seem satanic. As we're both getting down, we get noticed, and they're starting to talk amongst themselves in this weird language. And as soon as we get down, these motherfuckers start standing up and start sprinting towards us. I tell everyone to ditch the idea of the fire escape and not to worry about the cop. We need to get the fuck out of here. So we started sprinting through this building, with this occult in close pursuit behind us. We miraculously made it off the building and started running across the field into the main gate. And as we're doing so, the cop notices all the commotion, turns on his sirens, and comes driving in. Thank God he manages to cut the coat from us, and he starts to taste them as we get away safely. Honestly, I can safely say that it was probably the scariest experience of my life. What would we have done if they'd taken one of our friends? Would we have go back and confronted them? I don't know, but I'm glad it didn't happen. So when I was 17 or so, I decided to become a novice urban explorer. I live in rural Minnesota, so there's no storage of abandoned places to visit, if you know where to look. Anyways, my boyfriend at the time lived in a tiny community just north of Newton, Minnesota, which had a 2-story house that had been abandoned for about 10 years. The story was a tree fell on the side of the house during a storm, and the guy didn't want to pay for the repairs and just left it. I talked to my boyfriend about exploring the place, but since there was a convenience store right across the street, To evade detection, he pointed out that we should go at night. So we set our time to explore on Friday the 13th of that year. The crew we had with me was my boyfriend and 3 other guys. While my boyfriend and I were just waiting for our friends, we got a call from them saying that the front wheel straight up spun off their car and they needed a ride. Now, I'm not a particularly superstitious person, but it kinda seemed odd to me, seeing as the driver took really good care of his car. Anyways, fast forward to the action. It was around 10 p.m. and my boyfriend parked his car on a dirt road, about a quarter mile away from his house. We hiked in and decided to look at the backyard first. It was really overgrown with waist-high parried glass and was genuinely uneventful until we looked into the back windows of the house. One of them seemed to go into a pantry where there was still canned food on the shelves. The door to the pantry was open, and from there we could see a full set of living room furniture, couches and all. This kind of leads me to disbelieve the whole he left because of the falling tree thing. It seemed like the guy who lived there left in a hurry. Our original plan was to go through the back door, but it was locked with some industrial grade shit. We went around the front house, which had a screen-enclosed porch. Thankfully that it was unlocked, and we were to be able to look around the porch area. Knee-high stacks of Life magazines were absolutely everywhere. Some of them were dating as far as the 1980s, weather-worn and chewed through by animals. After fooling around in there for about 10 minutes, we decided to embark inside. Naturally, being a 17-year-old girl in a group of 19-year-old guys, I was elected to open the door, but once I put my hand in the doorknob, I heard a noise from the other side of the solid oak door. 4 deliberate rapid fire knocks. Everyone booked the fuck out of there faster than I ever seen. We ran the entire way back to my boyfriend's car, but it wouldn't start. Everyone was afraid to go outside, and one of my friends kept claiming that he heard footsteps coming towards us. After a few long minutes, my boyfriend's car finally started and we punched it back to his house. Once we got back, everyone had their speculations about what the fuck was going on the other side of the door. My personal theory was that there was a squatter inside that saw us snooping around and wanted to scare us away. I know that dilapidated house can make weird noises, but the knocks we heard were very deliberate, not something structural shift or animal could make. To this day, I have not visited that house again, or any abandoned houses in the area. So kids, if something seems like a bad idea, it's probably a bad idea.